The kiss lasted only a few seconds, but in that fleeting moment, it changed 3 lives forever. Rain drizzled softly over the dimly lit street, turning the pavement into a mirror of broken reflections. He hadn't planned it. He hadn't even thought it through. One second he was standing there, tired, worn out, holding his daughter's tiny backpack in one hand, and the next, he leaned forward and kissed a stranger. Not out of love, not out of desire, but to save her. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. Ethan Cole had learned the hard way that life didn't wait for you to catch your breath. 3 years ago, he had everything: a loving wife, a small but happy home, and a future that felt certain. But fate had other plans. A sudden illness took his wife away, leaving him alone with a 5-year-old daughter, Lily, and a mountain of responsibilities he was never prepared for. Every day since then had been a quiet battle. Morning routines filled with rushed breakfasts, late-night shifts as a janitor, and the constant fear of not being enough. He carried guilt like a shadow, wondering if he could ever give Lily the life she deserved. That night, he had just picked Lily up from his neighbor's house after a long shift. She had fallen asleep on his shoulder, her tiny fingers clutching his shirt, trusting him completely. He adjusted her weight carefully as he walked past a luxurious restaurant, one of those places where people like him only passed by, never entered. That was when he saw her. She stood under the golden glow of the restaurant's entrance lights, her posture rigid but her eyes filled with something deeper: pain, anger, maybe even fear. Her elegant dress clung perfectly to her figure, and everything about her screamed wealth and power. Yet in that moment she looked fragile. Across from her stood a man, tall and sharply dressed, his expression twisted with arrogance. Even from a distance Ethan could sense the tension. The way the man leaned too close, the way she subtly stepped back, it wasn't hard to understand what was happening. Ethan had seen that look before. It was the look of someone trying to escape without causing a scene. Something inside him stirred. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the memory of his late wife, who once told him that doing the right thing often meant stepping into uncomfortable situations. Without thinking, Ethan walked closer. The man's voice rose slightly, frustration seeping through his polished demeanor. The woman's eyes darted around, searching for an exit that didn't exist. And then, she looked at Ethan. For a split second, their eyes met. It wasn't a look of recognition. It was a silent plea. That was all it took. Ethan stepped forward, gently shifting Lily in his arms, and before his mind could catch up with his actions, he leaned in and kissed the woman. The world seemed to freeze. The man stepped back immediately, shock flashing across his face. The woman stiffened at first, clearly caught off guard, but then something changed. She didn't pull away. Instead, she allowed it, just long enough for the message to be clear. When Ethan pulled back, he kept his voice calm, steady, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. He placed a gentle hand on her arm and looked at the man with quiet confidence. The message was simple: she wasn't alone. The man scoffed, muttered something under his breath, and walked away, his pride clearly bruised. Silence lingered in the air. Ethan stepped back immediately, his heart racing as reality came crashing in. What had he just done? He wasn't that kind of man. He didn't act impulsively. He didn't kiss strangers. "I'm sorry," he said softly, his voice filled with sincerity. "I just thought you needed help." The woman stared at him, her expression unreadable at first. Then, slowly, her eyes softened. "You were right," she admitted quietly. Her name was Sophia Laurent. Ethan didn't know it yet, but the woman he had just kissed to save from an uncomfortable situation wasn't just anyone. She was a billionaire CEO, the head of one of the largest tech companies in the country. A woman known for her sharp mind, her unshakable composure, and her complete control over every situation. Except tonight. Sophia wasn't used to feeling vulnerable. She had built her empire from the ground up, fighting through betrayal, heartbreak, and countless challenges. The man from earlier was part of her past, a chapter she thought she had closed long ago. But some people didn't know how to let go, and for the first time in years she had felt cornered. Until Ethan appeared, there was something different about him. It wasn't just the fact that he had stepped in without hesitation. It was the way he carried himself, the quiet strength in his eyes, the way he held his daughter so gently as if she was the most precious thing in the world. Sophia found herself intrigued. Ethan, on the other hand, felt completely out of place. He wasn't dressed for this world. His clothes were simple, worn from long hours of work. His hands were rough, marked by years of labor. Standing next to Sophia felt like standing in a different universe. "I should go," he said awkwardly, shifting Lily again as she stirred slightly in her sleep. "Wait," Sophia said. There was a pause. "Let me thank you properly." Ethan hesitated. He didn't do favors for rewards. He had only acted because it felt right. But something in her voice made him stop. That night marked the beginning of something neither of them expected. At first, their worlds clashed in every possible way. Sophia lived in penthouses and boardrooms surrounded by luxury and power. Ethan lived in a small apartment, counting every expense, trying to stretch each paycheck just enough to get through the month. Yet somehow they kept crossing paths. Sophia found reasons to see him again. A simple thank you turned into a coffee meeting. Coffee turned into conversations. Conversations turned into moments that lingered longer than they should. Ethan tried to keep his distance. He knew how different their lives were. He knew that people like Sophia didn't end up with people like him, but Sophia didn't see it that way. She saw a man who loved his daughter more than anything. A man who had been broken by life but still chose kindness. A man who didn't care about her wealth or status, something she had rarely experienced. And slowly something began to grow. But life, as always, wasn't simple. Ethan's biggest fear wasn't rejection, it was failure. He worried about Lily. He worried about giving her stability. Getting involved with someone like Sophia felt risky, unpredictable. And Sophia had her own battles. Her world was filled with expectations, scrutiny, and people who questioned every decision she made. Being seen with Ethan raised eyebrows. People whispered. They judged. Could a billionaire CEO really fall for a single dad janitor? The pressure mounted. At one point, Ethan almost walked away. He convinced himself it was the right thing to do. For Lily, for Sophia, for everyone. But Sophia refused to let him disappear so easily. Because for the first time in years, she felt something real. As time passed, their bond deepened. Not through grand gestures, but through small, meaningful moments. Sophia helping Lily with her homework. Ethan fixing things around Sophia's home, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Quiet dinners, shared laughter. They were building something genuine, something rare, something worth fighting for. And then came the moment that changed everything. Sophia was invited to a high-profile event, a gathering of the most powerful people in the industry. It was the kind of place where appearances mattered, where every detail was analyzed. She asked Ethan to come with her. He hesitated. But for Lily, for the future he was beginning to imagine, he said yes. That night as they walked into the grand hall together, every eye turned toward them. Whispers spread like wildfire. Judgments were made before a single word was spoken. Ethan felt it, the weight of their stares, the unspoken questions. But then he felt Sophia's hand gently take his, and in that moment something shifted. He wasn't just a janitor, he wasn't just a single dad struggling to survive. He was a man who had shown courage, kindness, and love when it mattered most, and that was enough. If this story has touched your heart so far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more meaningful stories like this to life. As the night went on, something unexpected happened. The whispers began to fade. People saw the way Sophia looked at Ethan, not with obligation but with genuine affection. They saw the way Ethan carried himself, not with arrogance but with quiet confidence. Respect replaced judgment, and in that moment Ethan realized something important. He didn't need to be someone else to belong in her world. Because maybe, just maybe, her world had been missing someone like him all along. Before we reach the end, I have a special request for you. Comment, second chances are real, if you believe that life can surprise us in the most beautiful ways. In the end, it wasn't about the kiss. It wasn't about wealth or status. It was about two broken lives finding healing in each other. Ethan gave Sophia something she had lost long ago, a sense of safety, of real connection, and Sophia gave Ethan something he never thought he'd have again, a future filled with hope. The rain that once marked the beginning of their story eventually gave way to brighter days. And sometimes, the most unexpected moments, the ones we never plan, are the ones that change everything.